So we're gonna go ahead and do that one more time. So if you are in a colder temperature, hey guys, how are you? My name is Anna and welcome to Annachka's Kitchen. Well, really it's my mom's kitchen, but that's okay. So today I wanted to show you how I bake my easy, no knead, 5-ish hour bread. It's honestly so easy to make. It's a very beginner bread and I love baking it. So the recipe is actually from this book that I got on Amazon. It's a bread baking book. I did change a few things around in it, and also I figured I would show how I make the bread just because a lot of people are more visual learners and they would benefit from a video more than just from reading a recipe in a book. So I thought I would show you this recipe come to life along with my little changes to it. So like I mentioned, this bread takes about 5 hours to make from the very beginning up to the point where you can cut it and eat it. In total, it's like 4 hours, but you do want your bread to completely cool down before cutting into it. That's why I'm saying 5 hours. So if your dinner is at 6, the very latest you want to start your bread is at 1 o'clock. So while I'm baking everything, I will put up the times in the corner so you can see exactly how long it took me, so you can base it for yourself on when you are doing the baking. So let's jump right into it. So what you will need is a Dutch oven, a scale, a bread proofing basket. I use a linen towel, but it's not completely necessary. And then here are our ingredients. This is all it is. It's just a 4-ingredient bread. It's going to be 8 grams of instant yeast, 9 grams of salt, 500 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour, and 375 grams of 80 to 90 degree water. So the first thing you're gonna do is add the instant yeast to your water. And then I just use my fingers and kind of mix it and blend everything together. So after it's completely mixed and looks like this, you just want to leave it alone for about 5 to 10 minutes and let some bubbles form, and that is the yeast getting activated. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes and you can see that there are a little bit of bubbles in the water. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, but you do just want to give a few minutes for the yeast to activate. Then what you want to do is take your flour and pour it right on top. And then take your salt, and you want to make sure that the salt doesn't touch the water with the yeast just yet. Just pour it right on the flour and mix it in with the flour a little bit, just because if it directly touches the yeast first, it can inhibit some of the rise. So then you can mix with your hands. If you don't like mixing things with your hands, you can use a wooden spatula. Just beware, it will be very sticky, but that is totally normal. Okay, so you don't want to overmix it too much, but you do want to incorporate all the ingredients together and just make sure that there's not one really wet part and then one really floury part, but just so the whole dough looks exactly the same, and it should be wet, sticky, and I think in the book it even says like a slack wet dough. So once everything is incorporated together, you can just leave it to rest for 20 minutes. So this looks perfect. So now you're just gonna leave this for 20 minutes to rest. I cover it, but you don't have to. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes, and as you can see, the dough grew a little bit, and now we're gonna stretch and fold it. So basically just look at your dough as a clock. This is 12, 3, 6, and 9, and we're gonna do a full circle of stretch and folding. I'd say probably 2 to 3 times, maybe 4, but I would say 3. So you want to take the 12 o'clock, pull and fold it over to 6 o'clock. Then take the 3 o'clock, pull and fold it over to 9 o'clock. The 6 o'clock, over to the 12 o'clock, the 9 o'clock over to the 3. So we're gonna go ahead and do that one more time, and you wanna do this up until it's kind of tight and it's a ball form and it's no longer loose. And then when you're doing this, it's actually you getting some gluten development. So it should be kind of getting a little bit harder and harder to stretch. So I did it a total of 4 times, and you don't want to do it any more than that. And now I'm just going to cover it with a floured linen towel this time. We're going to keep it here for an hour and a half. Now you don't want to keep it on a cold counter. I'm actually going to put it just on top of a stove, or like lay a dish towel on the bottom, because you want it to be kind of warm for it to rise very well. If it's too cold, the rising won't be as good. So either lay like a dish towel underneath, or just put it on top of your stove, obviously not turned on, but somewhere where it's a warmer area. So we're gonna wait an hour and a half, and I'll be back. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half, and here is the bread. It's a lot bigger. As you can see, there's a lot of air in there. It's very light, which is perfect. I had it next to the stove while I was making soup, so it was a little bit warmer. So if you are in a colder temperature and it didn't rise enough, then you can always let it sit for another half hour. And a way you can check is by filling a cup of water, pinching a little bit of your dough and dropping it in there. If it floats to the top, that means your dough is aerated enough. If not, just let it sit out for another half hour. But as you can see, this is perfect. There's a bunch of little air pockets. It's aerated, it's perfect. So we're just gonna flour our workspace a little bit, and now we're gonna drop the dough onto the counter. So the part that was facing us is now going to be in the bottom, and the part that was on the bottom of the bowl will now be facing up. So what you're going to do is take the top, fold it down to the bottom, and then take the bottom and fold it up over the seam. It will be a little bit sticky. And then from the side, close it over. And then from the other side, again, close that seam. The dough should be holding its shape pretty well, like it is here. You're gonna flour your proofing basket and then take your dough seam side down and place it in there. And then again, I'm going to place a floured linen towel over it and leave it in a warm spot for another hour and a half. Okay, so it's been an hour and 5 minutes. We need 25 more minutes of proofing, but for these last 25 minutes, what you want to do is turn your oven onto 475 and put in an empty Dutch oven in there to heat it up so that you have a hot Dutch oven when you need to actually bake the bread. Okay, so here is the bread. And look how amazing it looks. It's been about an hour and a half, and it has proofed up so much. And you can see like the pockets of air in there. It's so big and light and puffy. Again, I had mine near the stove where stuff was cooking, so it was a little bit warmer. So if you are living in a colder house and your dough needs more time, that's completely fine. So a way that you can test it is if you press a finger into it and it's springy and tight, it's not ready. And if it's airy and light like a marshmallow like this one it is, then it is ready to bake. I've also heard if you press down on your dough and it leaves an indent just slightly, then it's ready. So I'm gonna press here and it springs up a little bit, but it still stays there. So that's how you know it's ready. So what you're gonna do is take your Dutch oven out of the oven. Be careful and wear some oven mitts. It will be very hot. Then you're gonna grab some parchment paper, put a little bit of flour in there, and you're gonna take your proofing basket with the dough and flip it over so that the original side with the seams is now facing up. And after that, you're just gonna take your parchment paper and your bread, put it into the Dutch oven, and put the cover on it and put it into the oven. And for 25 minutes, you are going to bake your bread in the oven, and then after, we're gonna go back into it and take the cover off. So for 25 minutes, you're gonna bake your bread at 475 with the cover on, and after 25 minutes, we're gonna go back in, take the cover off of the Dutch oven, and put it back into the oven for 15 to 20 more minutes, depending on your oven. You might need to wait a little bit longer. And also at this step where we take the cover off, what I like to do is just put a baking sheet at the bottom so that the bottom of the bread doesn't burn. And if you check up on your bread and you notice that it's burning, you can always turn the temperature down to 450. Okay, so it's been a total of 40 minutes in the oven. 25 of those minutes were with the cover on the Dutch oven and 15 minutes without. And I took the bread out and it looks absolutely beautiful. So now we're gonna give it about 30 minutes to an hour to cool down, and then we'll give it a cut.
Thank you. Thank you.
How is it?
Smells good. Tastes like flour and water.
That's so good. Okay guys, so let me know if you like this video, if I should make more videos like this. If you make this bread, let me know if you like it and how it turns out. And I'm just gonna keep on eating. Okay guys, have a good night and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.